Yeah, I've been doing this headphone thing for a long time. In fact, I have a pro tip variation for when your girlfriend is sitting over to your side and you don't want to totally ignore her, but you want to maybe pretend like you didn't hear sometimes. Instead of having the full Call of Duty or Dead by Daylight headphone setup, you just peek it back a little bit so that you can hear just a little bit, just a little bit. So you can hear like, what? What is that? Oh, I didn't
Oh
hear.
yeah.
Oh, what?
Oh no,
Oh, you know.
I spend a lot of my time like with one headphone off for sure.
Mhm.
That's a normal.
But
But
you still get you don't not all the way off. All the way off gets rid of the sound. You want to just peak it a little bit so you
mhm,
still get your directional audio.
mhm. Um yeah, so gonna have to look into that. But you know, otherwise the noise canceling on them is the most aggressive I've ever seen. It's
It's
pretty
crazy, isn't it?
pretty
Like
wildly strong.
I've flown on planes with it, and it noise cancels the plane, which is
Yep.
really crazy. I'm never gonna fly on a plane again
Yeah,
because the world's going to end. But uh, it's still a high quality headphone.
yeah, I've got air conditioning running, you know, pretty frequently throughout
You know,
uh
Willie.
my house, and it's pretty loud, so it comes in handy.
Speaking of air conditioning, sometimes you don't have an air conditioner,
Mhm.
and sometimes you just need a fan.
Mhm.
Now, I am using a fan right now because my basement gets a little hot because of all the devices down here.
Yep.
And it's blowing some air on me and I feel chilled. But what if I needed a stronger fan, a newer fan, a fan for the future? Well, Sony has a device for you. It's called the PS5.
Ah, I thought for a second you were going to go back to my old homemade air conditioning tech
No, no.
because that's still
I'm
relevant.
talking about Sony's new omnidirectional fan that will blow air on you with all of its swoops and dupes.
Are you referring to the PlayStation 5?
I yes, that's why I said the PlayStation 5.
It doesn't look like a fan to me. It looks like a router.
People have literally posted like brands of fans that are the exact same design.
Oh yeah, I haven't
Down
seen
to
them.
the white sides and swoops.
I've
It is
only seen.
hilarious.
Yeah, you joke went over my head there because I only saw routers and modems, you know, which are all going into this high collared look.
Dude, it's the first console I've ever seen that popped its collar.
So hold that thought though, because I wasn't finished talking about audio for a second.
All
Because
right, fair enough.
one other thing I wanted to ask you about is, remember you were pimping out RTX Voice.
I was.
What was your final verdict on it?
My final verdict is that when I want to use it to do that, I use it, but it represents about a 10% performance decrease, so I don't keep it on all the time.
Okay, I've noticed that after doing 2 days of recording with it, that it really is miraculous, and
Oh, it's incredible.
and it does great when you are by yourself talking like this. When you are a group and you get loud, it falls apart.
Yeah, okay.
So it completely stops being viable at that point. But like, I was kind of, it was like in general there was a occasional quality drop, you know. But like I was
Yeah.
monitoring the complaints, and then they just came back in way too strong whenever there was like more than one person and when the volume kind of kicked up. So
I guess that makes sense because it's like I don't know which one is the human because it's built for single persons.
yeah,
I ran into a situation when I was streaming that RTX says that Paige is not alive.
right.
That Paige is either a coffee machine or an air conditioner or room noise because she was just being like removed wholesale from almost any stream. It was hilarious. It was like I had a superpower.
It's again, it is impressive, you know. It's not quite there yet, and I don't know. Maybe that's why it's also something where I had to run I had to edit the installer for it to run on my
Oh
card.
yeah, that's just
Nvidia's proprietary
NVIDIA
bullshit.
proprietary crap that
Yeah.
doesn't affect its effectiveness at all.
So it's not quite there yet, but it's a really good step in that direction. I want to see the next iteration of that and or a competitive product that comes out to do the same thing. Perhaps maybe something where you can register and train the voices that it should isolate, so that it would be like, hey, I know you, and I know this group of people, and then everything else gets aggressively noise filtered. That would be pretty
want
sick.
you to just only cut out or you could have the opposite. You could train it to ignore certain voices.
Yes. Yes, you could. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Honey, tell me a story, and then you surreptitiously just turn it on.
And then
that was a great story.
Get your wireless headphones and get the noise canceling going, and then you get the person canceling going.
Yes.
So, pretty good stuff.
I would like to remove this actor's dialogue from this movie. Do it. Please get John Leguizamo out of this movie.
Hey man, he played a really dedicated clown. He ate those maggots in real life.
Yeah, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Never get it twisted. He was dedicated to his role. The Pest.
Dedicated to these nuts.
So...
Thank you.
PlayStation 5 is... you know what? What?
I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. I'm so excited.
It makes the controller make sense.
It does.
It makes the controller design make sense.
It does.
I don't hate it. I don't. I think when you see it, I saw there's like the like all black version with the blue lights on the thing, and I was like, okay, I can kind of see what you're going for here. Mm-hmm. But I will say, when it's A, on its side, and B, with the disc included, it looks terrible. It needs to be, but but the problem is, I am not gonna buy the version that has no disc on it because I want the option to use my physical media. But the discless version, standing upright, is the only version where aesthetically it makes sense to me.
Okay, so I like burst out laughing into like a kind of weird scream when I saw it of like, that looks terrible. And then they later showed the discless version, and I had to go find a picture of it on its side. And on its side, the discless version looks okay, I guess. And standing up, the discless version looks fine, I guess. Right? But the standing one with the disc, it looks deformed.
Yeah. No,
I would never say that about a piece of electronics before.
It's fatty boom boom.
But
it's a PlayStation with a fatty boom boom.
It looks deformed. It looks like it has a congenital tumor from the factory.
It's got junk in the trunk
that you did a biopsy incision on.
Shit's thick. It's thick. I just don't get like you clearly designed this aesthetic for the discless version, and then like it almost feels like they went, okay, wait, hold on, we can't put the disc in the middle where the black part is, right?
Yeah,
the disc slot clearly should have been in the middle where the black part is.
Except all the guts are there, so it's too late. We can't.
So they can't do it. So then they go, well, fuck it, throw it up on the side here, and then make it, give it a booty. But
I gotta pull this thing's photo up again.
Yeah, no, same.
I can talk about it.
It just doesn't. It needs, like, that's the thing. Is like, I don't hate the design. I think it looks clean when it is the digital version standing upright. That's at the end of the day,
funniest thing right now is that when you type in PS5, you get all these mock renders of way better.
Oh, the bullshit. Console. Yeah. And never forget the Nintendo Revolution, the sphere with the fucking grid on it.
So here's the thing, right? Everyone, we've been saying it for years and years. It doesn't matter what it looks like when it lives under your TV thing or off to the side or whatever. It's just going to be a box, right? Who cares, right? This thing is also gigantic.
It's big.
It's fucking huge.
Now there's an expected return to there's an expected return to like a large size thing, since remember we're at the end of a generation, so everything has had a chance to go slim. But like there's a side by side comparison, and it is taller and wider than the original PS3.
Yeah.
So
by a very significant margin.
On your Eurogamer breakdown sheet that they put out, you can take a look at the it's a side by side comparison of all PlayStation 3 models, PS4 models, and Xbox 360 to Xbox One models, and it's
fucking huge.
It is as wide as the original PS3, and it is as tall. It's taller than all of them. It's the tallest console.
Yeah. And it's like I'm looking at my entertainment center, and I'm like, I will have to measure to see if that fucking fits. And
discipline.
If it doesn't,
learn discipline.
I'm gonna have to jam all of my consoles into a corner, across like in the fucking corner of my basement next to my PC, which is too large, right?
Yeah.
To fit in an entertainment center.
The only thing challenging its girth is the Xbox Series X, but that's because that's just a fridge. You know?
You like it is like, I feel like this design is an actual response to the Microsoft design, because the Microsoft is a fridge. It is a
but it's not gonna have the depth, you know.
Right.
The real size comparison now to see who's going to be the king of all big boys is the original Xbox, which was never meant to be on its side. How does Fatty stack up to that? It's a challenger. It's a challenger for sure. Because if you're looking at this thing tower over the original PS3 model, and then if we can Google
it's much bigger.
Xbox original.
I'm literally looking at the dimensions. The original Xbox dimensions are 12.5 inches by 4 inches by 10.5 inches, and the PS5 is 14 inches tall.
Damn. All hail Castle VidCon.
So this is the biggest console.
It's the king. It's the big boy. Yep.
Congrats.
Yeah. No, and I'm looking at it now. It actually... Wow, the fat old Xbox was less fat than I thought.
Yeah, it was just so fat looking.
It was fat looking because it was an X that was exhaling. Remember, it was the design aesthetic was we wanted.
Oh yes, it was exhaling.
It was an X that's in the middle of exhaling, going, oh, wow. So it just looks fatter than it actually is. But no, the PS5 is now the king of sizes. Now,
so I'm looking at this.
Could you imagine?
I'm looking at the size comparison chart of all these different consoles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the Xbox 360s and the PS3s look like fucking terrible. Like, the original Xbox 360 looks like a stupid piece of shit now.
Oh, the white one?
Yeah.
It curves in. I think the black slim is where it looked a lot better. The black slim version where it had where it has like the power button with the quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's a clean design. I like that. I thought that worked out fine.
And the original PS3 looks like a mess. Looks like a spaceship.
It's a giant fucking spaceship. I was gonna say, like, could you imagine if the same logic that went into like the naming of the 360 went into the design of the PS5, where they're like, if people see bigger size, they will assume it is dominant. Size equals power, and the biggest console of them all in your living room will clearly remain unchallenged, as the others are subservient and tuck their tails.
I assume that the size is on both of them for big fucking fans. Like, I assume we're gonna pop these open and see like 240 millimeter fans in there, just giant motherfucking fans, to make sure that these things don't die.
I bet you like market that, like, these things are going to be the loudest motherfuckers until they figure it out on the next SKU. It's going to take a SKU or two before they get the quietness in. I bet you this thing is fucking loud, dude.
But Wooly, the PS5 is going to have a hard drive that's so fast that not even PCs will be able to handle it until the Samsung equivalents come out alongside the PS5 this November.
Possibly, yeah. At the same time.
No, they've announced them.
They've announced them.
Coming,
okay,
like,
well, there you go. Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, look, the PC market knows what it's doing when it comes to like new generation. Okay, well, here's what you're gonna need, because this is basically where games are gonna go. And if you don't already have it, then yeah, get your parts ready. It makes sense. It makes sense. You also are going to be looking at like just the sound of the fan when it's like starting up or whatever, and then occasionally going back down. And like, I don't know if you remember the early days of it was what were the loudest? 360 and Dreamcast were the loudest two to me. 360 would just start revving hard, and like it would like really kick on, and then like you get that initial like bzzz. But then like once you're starting up the next game, you just get that like it was
I'm gonna give
really loud.
I'm gonna give it to the 360. But with the PS4 Pro right behind it. But I want to give a special, like, honorable mention to the click tracking noise of the PS2's CD-ROM, which was, it had a hard, chunky one too, like a, and like it always sounded like your fucking console was gonna fly apart.
Yeah. And then of course the Dreamcast one was just very like
yeah, it had a really specific
stuttery
noise.
Yeah. I don't like, I get that. I understand the idea of the digital only version of the PS5, but it's like,
That's the one I'm gonna get.
really,
I'm at 0 physical games on the PS4.
I'm at like 2, maybe 3, but that's not the point. The point is I want the option. Sure. Right? I don't want the option taken away from me. And in the same way that like the PS3 with the original PS2 hardware inside of it is like the best version of that you can get, and then eventually it became obsolete. I want the version that has the options for sure. But I'd probably use it extremely minimally. But like you know, considering the nature of like, you know, LPing and stuff, it's like there's a lot of times where I have to fucking there's stuff where I'm just like, I don't want to have this installed. I don't want to deal with this. I just want to kind of, you know, have the ability to possibly like, oh, you already have a copy of that game? Cool, bring it over. Let me just do this instead, you know? So
that's why you got to get disgusting fast internet.
Anyway, I think yeah, I just, it's gonna bug me that the version I buy is the one that is not aesthetically pleasing,
That has a tumor.
but so be it. You gonna wait for the black one, or are you just gonna grab whatever's out?
No, I'm gonna grab it day one.
Yeah,
And
okay.
if it sucks ass, it'll just sit there forever. Like, I'm looking at this promo image, and like, man, those controllers look hot. They look great. You see they have the little engravings on them that are like the PlayStation symbols.
It's just the trigger buttons, man. It's just the R2s and L2s, you know?
They look like PS4 controllers that had more shit molded onto them.
The plastic of the buttons should not be also the surface of should not be the resting point. They threw it in at the last second at the presentation, but they came in with those headphones and then the remote.
Yeah.
So it was very like, oh, by the way, here's some accessories to match the same.
Hope it's got Bluetooth support
aesthetic.
so I can just use my regular shit on it, you dumb motherfuckers. Instead of your dumb PlayStation branded crap.
And not a price in sight except for that leak.
Shocked there was no price.
No price, no date.
To me, to me that says the price hasn't actually been decided yet. Because the price of this device is the price of this and the Xbox One are really weird, because when they started building them, they're like, fuck it, we're gonna go high end, right? This is gonna be the fucking first high end out of the gate console in a while, right?
They always do.
Yeah, but this one, they're actually putting shit in it. Like, look how big the fucking things are, right? And then COVID happened. And now they've built up these super high-end luxury video game consoles that are not for everyone in a global climate in which tons of people are broke.
Yes.
And
timing.
Like, I bet they're totally going to be way more expensive than the thing. I'm thinking 500 at least. It will be $1 less than 599 US dollars.
Well, they like, the leak was 599 euro, right?
That's not a leak. There's no way anything would be 599 euro. That's like $800 USD.
And then I'm like, going back in history, they've jumped up to that price before when the PS3 was launching. They've jumped up to the fucking $599.99 mark, you know?
We all saw how that went.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. They might jump back up there, man. They might try again. You know, PS4 launched at $399. Same thing, 360 launched at $399. Xbox One came at $499. Yeah, I'm looking at a comparison of launch prices. And PS3 is the king if you decide to exclude the Panasonic 3DO, which came out for a meager $699 in the year 1993.
Jesus Christ. That's unbelievable.
$699 in 1993, dude. The 3DO was wild.
Oh my god, that's just terrible.
Yeah. So 3DO is gonna stay up there. Neo Geo, of course, $649.
Yeah, but buy the carts.
But you're
too.
You're buying the arcade cartridges, exactly. You're buying literally.
I don't think the Neo Geo could ever be topped.
But the thing about the Neo Geo though was that they took the arcade machine and put it in a smaller piece of plastic and put video outs on it. They basically sold a super gun, which is it's an arcade board that runs on a TV screen, you know, like, so it's almost like understandable in that nonsense way where this is more of an arcade board and less of a console. But yeah, everything else comes in at that, you know, $299, $399 range. Occasionally
$399 has seemed to be the sweet spot for a lot.
Occasionally $499 if you're looking to challenge a little bit, but PS3 at $599 is the modern king. I think I can see them hitting it.
I can see. All right, I want a fucking like Boy Scout swear fucking prediction here. What do you think this thing's going to come out at the two SKUs?
Well, that's what I was about to ask you, is what are you going to call the price difference between disc and discless?
I want to call it
$100,
$499 and $549.
You think $50 for the discs?
I think $50 for a $2 CD-ROM. Sorry, Blu-ray drive.
I think they might go to $100.
Say it came out at $399.
I think they might opt for the round 100 on the optics.
Yeah.
There might be other differences, but like, I feel like you're gonna see $100 difference. 50 is like 50 is low enough that it's almost like, well, just get the extra thing. You know, it's almost like
they want.
Yeah. But you're gonna,
That's what they want.
but you're still producing a whole line of these, like, you know, you're physically producing a whole line of these discless ones. Like, even if you want to upsell it, I think it's gonna go for I think it's gonna be $100 difference between the two.
All right, so you're thinking $499, $599?
Probably.
Okay, so
and there might be more than just the disc. The disc is the difference. There might be something else to make it.
I doubt it. But we all lived through that mistake with the 360 era.
Well, do you remember the PS3 with lie, all the ports that never happened?
Oh yeah.
This thing has like a USB-C and a USB-A on the front. Who knows what's going on behind it? But
all right, I want to do some quick ass math. So let's assume, Wooly, you think that this thing will come out at $599 US with the disc, right? That translates to approximately 800 Canadian dollars, which translates to let's see, 800 times 1.15% sales tax equals a total of approximately $920, give or take, plus tax.
Beautiful. Yeah. Or how about this? Or how about this, right? Because again, I think the shelf difference of an entire digit is important for like that like walk in and purchase recognition from like parents and things like that they're going for. I think you might even see, like, again, like if they don't sweeten the deal by having other things included or not included, then it would go the other way around, and it would be like your $599 disc version includes the headset or the remote or some other accessory that is not included in the $499 version. Like if the actual cost of $50 between the two is not enough, they'd maybe toss in an accessory so that you'd have that exact difference. But I think they want to have a product at $499 and a product at $599. I think that's likely.
I'm seeing people say that the discless version will actually be more expensive. Hold on a second.
Wait, is that just like
because
nonsense?
The optical drive would be replaced with an SSD, and I don't think that's coming from anywhere.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. Didn't they advertise both? Like, didn't they advertise SSD as a standard in the product?
No. It's gonna have like a big fancy SSD.
Yeah,
for sure.
SSD was pitched as a standard thing for the product. Like, I think both SKUs are gonna have the SSD. That seems
they better.
That seems
they're
nonsense.
Literally showing off games that are using the SSD to
jump across worlds.
What the Ratchet thing was about.
Yeah. No, I think that's complete nonsense. That's one.
It's one of those things. It's like that SSD stuff they were showing off with Ratchet. Like, that's very impressive, but it's also stuff that you'll clearly only see for exclusive games. Because no one's
who would put the work into. Well, until Hello Games throws it into No Man's Sky next.
Yeah, sure.
We've added a portal gun. Yeah.
Actually, the way that game works, that would actually be they could do that right now. Because it's algorithmic.
Yeah.
So you just punch in a new number and the game will just start
put you in put you in that area. Totally.
Yeah.
I am I'm curious to see if the Series X is going to, change anything about their approach pending this announcement.
I just think it's really funny that, like, right after the announcement, Digital Foundry was like, we talked to some PS5 devs and they're all targeting 30 frames a second. I'm like, great. Awesome.
I mean,
so glad.
When are you going to start thinking about your 8K television?
You mean the one that, by every conceivable human eyeball metric, will be pointless to almost everyone,
but it's
forever?
But it's there, though.
Yeah.
Don't you want to know that there's so much quality that you can't even see it? Don't you want to know what it feels like to hit the event horizon of your perception?
You would need, I think it's like 110-inch television at like 8 feet to even be able to see a difference at all. at 8K. Like fucking mad pointless.
We can spit it out to 8K. We're gonna spit it out to 8K.
I don't care.
Yeah, that sucks, man. Still not standardizing 60, huh?
Nope, never. Because 60's hard.
Yeah, it's been hard for a while, but it's been a while.
Yeah, well. It always drives me crazy when these devs do remasters. And I remember the Last of Us one it really cracked me up. They did the Last of Us re-release on PS4, and like multiple devs on that team were like, "Holy shit, the game's just so much better at 60. It's incredible. We should really think about this." But we're not.
Yeah. Like, like, okay, what if we lock it at 40, guys? How about that?
40 is actually terrible. You don't want 40.
It's yeah. No, I know. Like, please, these half steps are awful. I like, personally, I would take a generation that is the same as we are right now with 60 locked in and no other improvements.
I say that literally every single gen.
Okay, where it's like that's the only improvement and everything else stays the same.
I remember saying when the fucking 360 came out, I'm like, just give me better performing PS2 games. I don't care.
Like it's great that Spider-Man runs instantly. Give me Bloodborne unpatched loading and 60 on everything. Yeah, totally. It's the biggest noticeable difference compared to everything else.
But Woolie, and here's where I feel like there's a real hard ass disconnect, which is like, but you can't show frame rate in a screenshot in a magazine, Woolie.
Well, I mean, magazines though.
That's my point.
Yeah.
You can't show 60 FPS on a TV commercial.
It really does feel like, from project to project, the one of the biggest struggles in the world is like getting that rate locked in. Getting it locked in is just the endless struggle.
Yeah, because you don't have to hit 60. You have to hit like 75. So that when it dips, it dips
to
like
a minimum
61.
of 60. Yeah, right. And like, yeah, and so when you don't want it to be variable, it's clearly not a guideline for a reason. I'll say that much, right? If Sony wanted to, they could enforce 60.
Then a million games wouldn't come out.
They straight up could. But yeah, that's not something that they're doing and that they've ever chosen to do. The next gens, or rather I should say the last gens, they always have a step. There's always so I've seen from the time I started QA, there were still PlayStation 2's games coming out, right? And there was still it was like there's still like, yeah, there's early DS QA stuff happening, and then when I was out, it was current gen. So like seeing the incremental step up in terms of just like what the hardware manufacturers enforce, you usually would see something where it's like, okay, now games are now that HDMI is optional, right? Your console can output to component, composite, or HDMI. Then please make sure that if you do choose to support HDMI, then you support not just 480p, but you're supporting your 720, yeah, and exactly, and at least 1080i, right? So it'd be like if you can get 1080i, 720p, you're fine, and everything is great, and that's your option, right? The gen right after that becomes mandatory, and then the next step up becomes the optional step. So there's always you have the option, and then one gen later that locks in a way, right? That's kind of the relative progression of how this sort of stuff works.
Yeah.
When it comes to frame rate,
we gave you a couple of years to get used to this as an option.
Now you got to do it. Same thing for audio, you know, as well. Like there was a thing where it's just like, okay, you can support Dolby Digital, you can support DTS, you know, 5.1, 5.2, 9.1, 9.2, 7.1. So like you can go through all these different options, and these are optional. And then afterwards they go, now you have to do them. So they have that little scale going upwards with each gen, but with frame rate, they never did. Frame rate is the only thing where it was always like, well, do what you can. So, you know, take that as you will.
I'm just thinking and kind of giggling in the background of, let's say they implement a 30 FPS like mandate, right? I would give anything to talk to the people in charge of compliance of like, get this game under fucking 29 frames a second. Like, your job is when the shit comes in, when you do this compliance, is you fuck this thing up like a Super Nintendo game, and you get that frame rate under 30 so that it fails compliance.
I mean,
like, that would be the greatest job ever.
Well, that ultimately, like, what you are failing things for, it depends on which platform, but in many cases, like, an inconsistent frame rate would lead to like what would feel like choppiness, you know, what would feel like unsmooth gameplay, and then that is a valid bug. You can definitely throw that in the database and go like, yeah, this level, the game just takes a shit here, especially.
I forget what it was, but I remember there was a game where like the cutscene prompts, like the QTEs, would be like delayed because the frame rate was like so fucking bad. Some piece of shit I put on 360, and it's like, this is unplayable. Like these prompts are fucked.
Shout outs to the performance test on Killer Instinct, which is loading in the alleyway level and Cinder versus Cinder. And it just has them doing their giant explosive particle based things over and over and over again in a mirror match. And it's like, can your system handle this? Can you handle a Cinder mirror match?
It was a version of Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
Somebody in the chat just mentioned it was a version of Walking Dead. I think it was Walking Dead season 1 without a hard drive, where it would just be like, there were parts of the first episode that were uncompletable.
That you couldn't. The prompt would pop up late
because the prompt would pop up after your character had died.
Yikes! Yeah. Well, hey.
But yeah, Cinder versus Cinder. I remember turning that on and like laughing, because it's like, oh yeah, this is about as bad as this game's ever gonna get.
They know. They know exactly what to test. Exactly. Yeah. That's. I like that. I like when so you do it in DMC4 Special Edition, and it just pans the level and loads in like 100 enemies just jumping around doing their thing, and then it just like keeps going and more and more and more and more and more, you know. And it's just like, yeah, show me what the game's absolute death choke nightmare is, and let's see how it handles it. And then it gives you a passing grid, and you're like, fuck yeah, I feel good about my setup.
It's funny because so Total Warhammer, that big strategy game we were talking about a couple weeks ago, they have 3 benchmarks in it. There's the campaign benchmark, which is like their map, when like the Civ map. There's battle, which is a fight between 2 large armies, and then there's the Skaven battle benchmark, because the Skaven have like twice as many cheap units, and there's no actual benchmark for the upper limit, because in that game you can combine multiple armies together, and you can get like 20,000-30,000 fucking enemies on screen, and your CPU's gonna shit. Like, there's nothing that can be done. Like, the game will allow all sorts of shit to happen, and there's no computer on the fucking planet that will handle it. But I admire games like Killer Instinct that just go, this is as bad as it's going to get. This is the worst thing we could do to it.
This is the worst thing we can do. Yep.